Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I can't get my words out straight. Good afternoon, everyone. It's Mel here. Hope you're having a strong day. In today's video, I'm going to share with you 7 different hacks to stop binging when you get those urges. So I have to warn you, there are hundreds, literally hundreds of things that you can do, but these are the top 7 things that I find personally that is the most effective out of all those hundreds of things. But obviously, depending on your style and depending on your character, it could be something different. But these are my favorites because when I suffered from over 2 decades of addictions and compulsions, including binge eating for over 22 years, things like meditation and breathing exercises didn't work for me because of the compulsions. Those urges to binge were so strong. I literally had to do something physical. So these tips to stop going through with the binges when you have those urges to binge, I am just sharing with you what you can do at those moments. Obviously, I am taking it for granted that you already have been planning on how to recover. That means you have been trying to make sure that you're not leaving food too late, eating too late, so you're not leaving yourself starving, because obviously if you don't eat all day, even if you don't have a problem with eating, you are going to binge. I mean, I often binge right now, but it's not a problem because of the fact that I know I've left eating too late, and I binge because it is a natural reaction to famine. And as soon as you leave eating for so long, the biology of your body is telling it needs food, and it needs to search for food as soon as possible. And when you are in that state, you are in this kind of panic mode because the body is thinking it's under threat. It thinks that it's just going to starve, so it will go to anything to get that quick fix because it obviously doesn't want to die. So I'm taking it for granted that you already know what to do. And all those things in preparation to stop yourself from those binge eating episodes. Bonjour. I'm actually in public again right now because my daughter is in another dance class, and I've got my video on the table tennis table, and I keep getting people walking past, so I have to just keep looking every now and again to make sure that I'm not just going to get kicked out of my spot here. But I'm trying not to make this video too long, so hopefully I won't get disturbed. So here are my top things to stop going through with the binges. First of all, get yourself away from the binge foods if you can. So again, this is another thing that if you are trying to recover from binge eating, especially on super processed foods, don't have it in the house if you're not going to trust yourself around it. And if it's in the house, the likelihood of you going for the binge foods are going to be extremely intensified and heightened because it's too easy for you to go for the binge foods. But obviously, if it isn't in the house, you're going to have to make the effort. And sometimes just making it hard for yourself to actually access the binge foods is enough to delay that length of time between you and binging, for you to actually have that time for your mind to calm down before you end up binging. So for example, you have that urges to binge in your house, you've got no binge foods in the house, you're going to have to put your shoes on, you may have to put your coat on, you might have to drive somewhere, and going through that process will allow you to perhaps, if you have the tools, to get yourself back to that emotional state. And I mean emotional state where you can make the choice. That may be enough for you not to go through the binge foods or to go out and shop for to shop for the binge foods to get. So yeah, don't have it in the house. This is kind of almost like pre-preparations, but in those moments urges to binge, let's say for example you just cannot stop thinking about it. First of all, I used to like to just interrupt those thoughts as quick as possible. One of the things that I recommend is to do something physical and get down on your arms and legs and do as many press-ups as possible. I know it sounds really nuts, but the thing is, when you have these constant thoughts in your head and you interrupt it physically, the adrenaline you get by doing those push-ups or star jumps, do as many star jumps as quick as possible, will flood your body with those endorphins. Those endorphins are the things that you are looking for, you're searching for when you are experiencing those urges to binge, because that is what you're really after, that buzz, that high that those foods are going to give you. Let's face it, you haven't got the urges to binge on a bowl of salad or a healthy bowl of hummus or anything like that. It usually is those super processed sugary foods, which is, it's very, very addictive if you continuously eat it on a regular basis. So you've probably got yourself into a habit of wanting those sugary foods. So do as many press-ups and as many star jumps as possible, and you'll find that you will lessen those feelings of wanting to binge. Another thing you'll probably heard of lots of times. Hi Lee, thank you for watching. Lots of times, call a friend. Why is this why is everyone saying call a friend? What's that going to do? When you call a friend, they're actually physically, you're doing something physical again. Like one of the things that I really like about this hack, and you'll hear people say, is because it gets you to call someone. And I know for a fact most people probably binge eat when they're on their own. And the thing is, it takes too long for you to get in the car and drive to your friends, because what will probably happen is you won't go to your friends, you'll end up going into a drive-through or to the shop or anything because you're already out. But calling a friend is immediate. You can do this if you have that incy-wincy power to decide, I'm going to call a friend, and hopefully you have got somebody that you can talk to. And calling a friend just does two things. Two, it distracts you in the moment, and again, it's physical, so you have to do something. Secondly, it's always nice to hear that comfort, that support from a friend. And when you're with that, talking with a friend, it takes away that feeling of wanting to binge, because you almost feel accountable because your friend is there. And even better, if they know what you're going through, they're going to give you that support that you want. So that's the second. There's so many good things about that as well, building that relationship with your friends as well, and that support that you have there, that you can share everything with them, and hopefully you have a friend like that. But if not, maybe pick another tip that I would say. I know some of this sounds really, really cheesy, but it works. The third one I was recommend, if you have a cat, a pet, stroking a pet or a dog, or taking your dog out for a walk, or just being around animals. They have this unconditional love for you. So if you haven't got a friend to talk to, you haven't got anyone to turn around to, and even sometimes these support groups, they can kind of trigger you to feel that it's okay, I have a problem and let's all have a problem together. But sometimes you just don't want to be reminded of your problem. But stroking a pet, like a cat or a dog, will give you that feeling of calmness. It has been proven that it changes something in your mind as well, to make you feel those loving feelings in your body. So stroking, having time with your pets will change that feeling of wanting to binge. But if that doesn't work, what else have I put? try and find something to do that is physical again, like tidying up a messy drawer. If you go into your bedroom or go into any one of your rooms and start tidying up some clothes or a cluttered drawer, a drawer you've been shoving things in and you've been meaning to tidy up for a long time, because again, it's that physical thing of not reacting to the urges to binge straight away and doing something physical which will force you into doing something else. So you're concentrating on something else, and that allows you to get back into that state of not being panicked by those urges to binge. And the thing good about it is, when you choose one little tiny thing like tidying up your drawer, a messy drawer, and I know I've got a few at home that needs tidying up, but every time I get to do one drawer, you'll be amazed on how you'll just catch up on things, like little by little, do a drawer at a time, and that feeling of that happy feeling that you get after arranging something and tidying something up is going to be as good, if not better, than caving into those binges. Because even though you want that happy feeling from those binges, you know that as soon as you stop binging, you feel absolutely shit again. But if you do some tidy up a drawer, you're going to have those feelings, maybe not as high and as like rushed as when you go for a binge, but you are going to feel that sense of reward afterwards. Not only will you be doing something great in the house, but also that feeling of almost euphoric that you've managed to avoid a binge and you got a reward afterwards. So those are like my cheesy kind of hacks that you can do to avoid caving into those urges to binge. But really, these last two ones are really the ones that, if you can work yourself up to do, are really effective. But these things really has to be done on a regular basis. Like everything else, if you can just try and do it on a regular basis, because the binges is just a reaction to something that you've been doing for a long time. So any type of techniques that you do, they're all designed for you to stop the habit of caving in straight away, because as soon as you cave into a binge, it just reinforces that in the brain to say, yes, this binge has a good job, this binge has a good role, because you keep caving into it. So anything that you could do consistently, the brain thinks it's a useful thing that you do, and it will keep it in the subconscious mind. Just like walking, you don't have to think about walking, it will run that on autopilot. And that is the reasons why often people who struggle with destructive eating behaviours feel like they're being hijacked, they feel like they're on autopilot, because the behaviour is instilled and it's in the subconscious mind. So you feel like you have no control. So that's why in any of these tips that you hear of, not just from me, but all from many different influences, from binge eating groups, they'll share with you these tips. They do work, but you have to consistently do them. You can't just sporadically do it when you feel like it. You're gonna have to keep doing it again and again and again. And then, so moving on, because I get in a bit of a tangent, moving on, the other, am I like looking a bit weird? All right, I'm going to stand back here because the light looks a bit funny. So the other tip that I wanted to share with you is tapping, emotional freedom technique. You've probably heard of that before. Is one of the things that a lot of therapists and psychotherapists and coaches and healers recommend because it works. It touches on points. They call them meridian points, but I don't know. I'm not an expert at it. I just know that it does work. And the reason why it works is because it interrupts your thoughts. It's a pattern interrupter. Like I said before, the binge eating is a habit, and the only way to break a habit is stop doing it. But it's easier said than done. So one of the most effective ways to break a habit is doing tapping. And if you want to know more on how to do that, you can go into my YouTube channel, and there is a video on there, tapping your urges away. Go on there, but it's basically doing this. You've probably seen it: tapping your head, tapping the side of your head, tapping on your lip, on the chin, on your chest, on the side, and blah blah blah. But I don't want to make this video too long, but that is very effective, because again, it's physical. You have to physically do it, and it's really quick, because it helps with those emotional imbalances. It gets you into that, it stabilizes those emotions. And again, these urges to binge, you're having a lot of that emotion, even if you don't feel sad, happy, angry or anything, but that emotion, that build up, that pressure that you feel at the bottom of your stomach coming up to your chest, and you just feel like you have to tear your skin out or you binge, that is going to help you calm those moments. But you will have to do it. You can't, like, it's not going to be easy, because those urges are really, really powerful, as you know. But with EFT or tapping, again, these are the things that I do recommend that you fit in as part of your daily regime. So do it in the morning, or doing it last thing at night, and with some powerful affirmations. And I'll do another video another time about affirmations and how to do it right and how to do it wrong, because there is the wrong way to do it as well. And that's why many people don't get the effects of affirmations, because they don't realize that it's just, if you're just saying affirmation, there's no feeling behind it, it won't work. It really won't work. So, and the last tip is riding the waves of emotions. So this is almost like the graduation of the techniques to avoid the urges to binge. And I would say that most people will struggle to do this because of the fact that it's almost, like I said, it's like a graduation technique to, sorry, there's blooming mosquitoes here, to do this technique, because you have to be in a state where you have some sort of control. But I think, if I'm guessing right, most people probably watching me don't really have that much control. And if you don't, what I suggest is like trying to implement small little things to work up to this tip that I'm about to share with you. And if you want to know what those tips are, it's on my YouTube channel again, and it's I think it's, I'll leave a link below this video, but it's something like how to stop binge eating and food addictions for good. So it's like mind hacks, and it starts off with very little tiny little tips that you can do, you can do now, whatever state you are. And the idea is just to master one little thing and then move on to the next thing. So little bite-sized little things that you can do, from basically the very first tips that I share on there is literally throughout the day relaxing your body, and I share on that video the reasons why that is important. So riding the waves of emotions is basically not fighting the urges, it's actually acknowledging it and sitting with those feelings of urges and identifying where I'm getting attacked by mosquitoes here. It's identifying where are the urges coming from. So you do like a mental body scan. Where are the urges feeling from? Are you getting an achy leg? Are your arms feeling achy? What does your skin feel like? What are your feelings around the urges? Do you feel like you're about to tear your skin out? And you just write it down, and then you have a think, what are those urges wanting you to do? What is it that it's trying to fulfill? So there's a lot of questioning, and I get it. This is going to be like super challenging for the average binge eater, especially when you haven't implemented any methods to recover yet. You're just at the you're either just can't handle any techniques, you just can't handle the urges, you can't do any of them, or you're just at the beginning, you've just realized you're out of control. So this is, again, that last one is very effective, and it is one of the ways that you can recover pretty quickly if you master it. If you want to know more information on exactly how to do that, again, that's on my YouTube channel. It's Riding the Waves of the Urges to Binge or something like that. So you'll find some useful videos on there. So wrapping this all up now, I share those things on how to stop going through with the binges if you have those urges. But really, if I'm being honest, these techniques, these methods, they will only stop the symptom, which is the binge eating, which is the urges to binge. And what I mean is the symptom, like you binge eating, the act of binge eating, it's only as a result of something else that is going on underneath. And when I explain this to my clients, is basically, what is it that's driving those urges to binge? What is it that's underpinning those urges? What is it that is sabotaging you all the time? Why is it that you go for so long, you stick to your meal plans, you even get to, let's say for example, you're doing this because you want to get to a certain weight. What if you did do so well, 6 months, even a year, you lose the weight, you get to your dress size, you're really happy, and then suddenly, wham, you go on a binge parade. You just can't stop eating until you have put it all back on again, and most often more. And the reason is because most of these modalities, even the things that I've just shared with you, and it sounds really hypocritical, I know, but these are the things that are going to stop you from reacting or following through with the binges, but they don't solve the real problem. And this is what I do with my clients who absolutely come down at the end of their road. They've literally tried everything. They've tried all these techniques I've shared with you, and plus those hundreds more that I mentioned before. I haven't got a long enough day to explain all those techniques, but the reasons why they don't help to recover for good, just like me, for over a decade now, is because the real problem is not resolved. So even though that the binge eating hasn't stopped, most often than not, maybe perhaps something else gets formed afterwards, because when the real thing has not resolved, if you stop the binge eating, more often than not, you seek something else to replace the binge eating. Maybe it's alcohol, maybe it's like OCD, forever tidying up. Maybe you're experiencing all these symptoms all at the same time because it feels like there's an insatiable appetite to get things right, to get things perfect, or you don't ever feel good enough. So if you are at the end of that tether and you have tried everything, and you like saying to me right now, another tip about stopping the urges to binge, I've heard it all before, it's not working. This is what I do. If you're fed up, I help people just get to the root, and once you yank the root cause, or once that's been released to the mind, it becomes, the binge eating itself becomes invalid. And when it becomes invalid to the brain, you don't get those urges anymore, and you don't even look at junk food the same anymore. They look the same, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about like changing the way it looks, but your perception, those urges doesn't exist anymore. So that's why recovery, using the method that I use, which I have been trained in lots and lots of modalities, and I have fine-tuned it to the one thing that really makes a difference, and that is to actually resolve what is really going on behind the scenes of the binge eating. However, if you cannot afford, if you're not in a position to invest in a rapid recovery method like that, or if not me, to seek professional help in clinics or therapy, which could cost thousands, then yeah, use those tips that I shared with you, and there's hundreds of them. But those are my favorite tips, because when you have the urges to binge, these make you do something else, because doing something physical will distract you and give you time for your mind to calm down. Because when you have those urges to binge, it's like it's feeling under threat, and when you're feeling under threat, your brain shuts down, and when your brain shuts down, it's very difficult for you to think of a good solution to act in. So, and if you're finding that hard to think, then the chances of you binging will be accelerated or increased. But if you put it off as long as you can, do those activities, it will allow your brain to calm down again, and then your brain will be open enough for you to find something else that is more beneficial to you. So anyway, I hope you found some nuggets in this, pardon the pun, in this video. I could talk about it all day long, but those are probably the things that came to my mind straight away that are effective. But again, like everything else, because binge eating is a habit and you've been doing it for such a long time, it will take some time to change those behaviours on the conscious level. But again, if you've tried everything else and you're just ready to invest in the rapid recovery, you know where I am. But until next time, I will come up with another thing to help you in your successful recovery journey. So until next time, thank you for watching and keep strong. Mwah. Bye-bye.